Good morning and welcome to a special meeting of the Eastchester Board of Fire Commissioners. We have a very short agenda today and we're going to just have a pledge of allegiance to the flag before we start.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, so it is currently 9:52. Can I get a motion to open the meeting?
Make a motion over the meeting.
Mr. Baker, and a second.
I'll second.
Peter. Okay. What we have is we got a slate from the Waverly Engine Company, and we should have done this at our last meeting, but we didn't realize that when you get a slate from a volunteer company, you have 40 days either to vote the slate up or down, or that slate becomes effective automatically.
And you should explain what Slate is.
A slate is their proposal of officers. So they gave us a list of who they want to propose as their officers and their trustees. We haven't seen one of these proposals in a long time. I don't remember seeing one from the Waverly Engine Company. And so I realized over the weekend reading New York State law that we had to vote this up or down in 40 days, so I thought we'd have a meeting to decide whether we want the slate or not. Which brought us to New York State law, particularly Article 11, Section 176B on the requirements of residency for a volunteer fireman. I passed out a copy of those residency requirements. I lost my copy, it seems like. So, and basically, the law requires you to be a resident of the township to be a volunteer fireman, unless you are have approval from the board and you're working in the district full-time or a material amount of time you're working in the district, then there could be an exception. But generally speaking, you need to be within the district to be a member of a volunteer fire company. With that said, we're aware that over the years, this provision may not have been as enforced as tightly as it should have been, and so we're going back to review that. We have a copy of the law, it's been circulated, and it's pretty straightforward, I believe. Any comments from the board members? So I'm proposing that we have a resolution that says, pursuant to New York State Town Law, Article 11, Section 176B, the chief of the fire department is ordered to remove those volunteer members not residing within the boundaries of the Eastchester Fire District from the membership rolls of the Eastchester Fire District, and it should advise those volunteer members to return all district property. The only exception to this in-town residency requirement are volunteer members who have been granted permission by formal resolution of the Eastchester Board of Fire Commissioners, as stated in the minute books, to reside within 1 mile of the fire district pursuant to October 14, 1999 rules and regulations of the Volunteer Fire Department of the town of Eastchester. And what that means is there was some people granted dispensation to be outside the district line, roughly a mile, better defined in the rule books. That's why we're citing the rule book. And those members would have been granted in the minutes of the, at the time, it would be in the minute books that they were granted that dispensation.
Accepted as members.
Or accept, yeah. So, or accepted as members with their address known to us. So,
So that being said, these members that we're saying are not residents aren't even close to 1 mile. They're actually,
we don't know exactly where they are, but we just know
one we know is greater than 50 miles. Yeah.
Yeah, so the idea is to start complying with New York State law. So, I'm looking for a motion to adopt that resolution.
I'll make the motion.
So it's Peter first, and a second.
Second.
Second by Jerry. Any discussion?
Yes.
Okay.
Which individuals are you pinpointing in this letter that you received from Waverly?
That's not what,
That's not the discussion. The discussion is, if they're not residents of the, if they're not residents,
They can't be officers.
they can't be officers. So right now, we're just,
so they can't be members.
can't be members, not officers.
Which precludes them from being
Okay,
officers.
and then, okay, I
So
follow you.
this resolution is simply to order the chief to remove those members that are not living in the
Okay,
district.
I follow you there, no problem. Another question I want to find out. Me and Commissioner Baker chair this committee on volunteerism, on the volunteer system, right? Who authorized this meeting without my consent or without Commissioner Baker's consent?
Actually, Mr. Baker is the senior member of the...
I understand that, but he didn't confide in me, and I know nothing of this meeting until the last minute on Monday.
Okay.
And, okay, wait a minute, Dennis, can I speak? And on this committee, you just do what you want because you're the chairman of the board?
Well, actually...
No, well, let me finish. I mean, Commissioner Baker, and what's so funny?
I thought I was filling, I didn't know I was filling a pregnant pause, but go ahead.
No, you know what? Forget it, Dennis. Go ahead, you win, you know?
Well, hang on.
But, you know,
So,
but
guys,
wait a minute, Jerry, you know...
I'm not debating it, I just
No,
want
no,
you to
but
have the conversation.
The last committee I was on, I was a junior member, so I was thrown off of that. Now, I mean, Steve hasn't even talked to me about this thing, and all of a sudden I find out we got a meeting. I asked for a little courtesy because I work, and I don't get off work till 9 o'clock. By the time I get here, it's 9:30. And it was a big commotion by Commissioner Winter. We gotta have this meeting, you know, within 40 days. This is not a life-threatening thing, is it? I
No,
hope
but we
not.
accommodated everybody's time, that's how we got
Okay,
here.
yeah, after a long discussion, I had
But
a heated
that's-
argument with him. I mean,
Okay,
for a lousy,
I wasn't involved with that, all I know
Okay,
is we
no, I
worked
know.
out the time that we could have the meeting.
Okay, I know that, but all I'm just saying, I didn't even know of this thing. Commissioner Baker didn't notify me. All of a sudden, wait, let me finish. Could I finish?
Yeah, go ahead and finish.
But I mean, you know, something that I'm not chairing, that I'm on a committee, I'd like to know before something happens, like I got notified Monday. Okay, Steve never had the courtesy to call me to tell me we're having this thing, and I'm supposed to be working with him on this committee, am I?
I got the same notice you got, that we were gonna have a
But
board meeting.
shouldn't me and you discuss it first before the chairman takes over?
If they call a special meeting, I understand your point, I'm just saying, there wasn't any discussions, there was a special meeting called.
I know one time I tried to call a special meeting, Dennis told me I can't do it. You know,
Actually, so just let's get something straight. The
Yeah.
main responsibility of the chairman is to manage the meeting. and
okay,
meetings
but
to be
call me
done.
and speak to me about the thing first. Just don't pick up the phone or put it on the email, we got a meeting at a certain time.
Can I speak?
No, let me finish. I mean, I'm on a committee that I don't know nothing about. I was on a committee before, I was removed because I was a junior member. When do I become a member of this organization? When do I become a member? Every time something's said or something I do, I'm a junior member. I mean, I came in to talk to Chief Stupper one time, just to say Happy Thanksgiving and all that. I closed the door and I got my head chopped off. Commissioner Inkleton was in there last week with the door closed, nothing was said. Everything I do is wrong. I mean, last year, I asked the chief, we're gonna go to 2 parades. Is it possible we could use 2104? Somehow, or I don't know how it got blown out, Commissioner Laurie gave chief orders that he has to have the 2104, and I never did that. I asked him personally by request. The rumor was going around, the Commissioner Laurie's already given the chief orders. I never did I do anything like that to you, did I?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay, wait a minute, I'm just
No,
saying.
I have to say something here. I have 2 members who have to go to work today.
Yeah, and
Right?
okay, go ahead,
And both of
Dennis.
these guys
All right, Dennis, go ahead.
modified the time of this meeting to later in the morning
Go ahead.
to accommodate
Go
your
ahead,
schedule.
Dennis, go ahead, do what
If
you
you have
want.
issues about the Eastchester Fire District's operation,
Go ahead.
regular monthly meetings, you're perfectly willing to bring it up.
Even when I do that, you
Right
cut
now,
me
we're
off.
discussing this resolution.
Well, that's what I'm trying to
And
tell
this
you.
this meeting was tailored for your time today.
Oh, yeah.
Because
Just for
you're
me.
the one who needed to be here at 9:45 and not 8:15 like I suggested. And it's hard to get a group of professional people together at a certain time.
Okay,
during the
Dennis,
week.
go ahead, never mind, go ahead, go ahead.
Okay,
You
so I'll
win.
poll the board. Any other discussion?
You can't, you cut us off, go ahead.
Okay,
Or at least me.
all right. So, Commissioner Laurie,
No,
okay.
you knew that was coming anyway. Because you told me how I was gonna vote.
Okay, Mr. Inkledon,
Aye.
Commissioner Baker,
Aye.
Commissioner Napolitano,
Aye.
and Commissioner Winter will say aye. Motion carries.
I have a question. This is pretty much, see, this has been an ongoing problem. You're wondering who? I suspect a couple. Part of the problem is a long time ago, and I hate to say it, but I will have to soon recommend charges for somebody that has not complied with chief's order request. We don't have current addresses and names. This has been requested numerous times. It's been a while. I've received nothing.
Okay.
It's
And I brought it up in the
really
last
difficult
meeting,
position.
actually, the concerning that there are names on this list, but no names or addresses, when one of the main requirements is residency.
Well, I can't answer for what the company does, that, I'm not in that company.
Okay, so now we'll go to the next resolution. Thank you, Chief. The next resolution is we've received this proposal from Mr. David W. Horn, who's submitting it as secretary of the Waverly Engine Company, and the address for the Waverly Engine Company is 255 Main Street, Eastchester, New York, Eastchester Fire Department. So they reside from here, so our communications will go back to the same address. So here we have the slate, and any discussion on the slate of officers before we?
Well, I'm just gonna read it for the record.
Okay.
That way, people at home have a copy of what it is.
Sure.
Apparently, at their annual meeting on March 10th of 2016, they proposed and elected on their end an annual slate of the following people. President is Ralph Scaludi. Vice President is Paul H. Crystal. Secretary/Treasurer David H. Horn. Captain is Anthony Fiore. First Lieutenant is Marco O'Farolin. And as trustees, they elected Anthony Fiore, David W. Horn, Paul H. Crystal, Ralph Scaludi, and Ken Herbert. At the last meeting, I objected to this because you can't have trustees, under the state law, you can't have officers of I'll call it, for lack of a better term, corporation, even though I know it's not a, publicly traded corporation. The officers cannot also serve as trustees, because the trustee's job under the law is to be the watchdogs of the organization. So that I objected to on some of these guys. Not everyone's holding dual positions, but several of these people are, chief cook, bottle washer, and president.
Why would that be? Would that basically be because there's no membership?
The lack of membership, yes, so
Okay.
that's all.
So maybe then it's time to shut it down.
I don't know.
If there's no membership, why bother having an engine company?
I don't know. I'm not
If you have,
Or maybe
if
somebody
the entire membership is made up of the
maybe
officer
somebody
board.
want to hold office, who knows?
Okay, so
Very interesting, that's all
any
I
other
got.
discussion on this? So I would look for a motion, and here's what I'll say, if we can decide, somebody can make the motion. We need a motion to either to accept or reject their slate. So the chairman's got, so would anybody like to make a motion to turn down the slate?
Yeah, I'll make that motion since I
I'll
objected to
second it.
this.
Okay, so Mr. Baker makes a motion to reject the slate as provided by the Waverly Engine Company number 1 on letter dated March 14, 2016. Received by us on March 23, 2016. That motion was seconded by Mr. Napolitano, Commissioner Napolitano. Any further discussion?
This is just to bring it in, you mentioned earlier, Mr. Chairman, that you have 40 days to either thumbs up or thumbs down, and if you don't act on it, silence is acquiescence.
Correct, silence means you adopted it.
Right.
I didn't realize that clause was in the law, but it is. So I'll poll the board. Mr. Laurie?
No.
Okay, Mr. Laurie said no. Mr. Inkledon?
Aye.
Mr. Baker?
Aye.
Mr. Napolitano?
Aye.
And I'll say aye, motion carries. Now that the motion carried, I have a draft letter here, which is here, that we should be sending to, the address stated on the draft letter, to Mr. Horn of the Waverly Engine Company, advising him of the board's actions. Please be advised, the slate of officers as proposed to the Eastchester
We
Fire
were
District.
pretty confident about this, huh? You had it already drafted, pretty
Yeah.
confident.
Well, I haven't, it's a draft, that's why it's a draft.
Yeah, I know.
It says draft on it.
I know, I see it, but I'm
Okay,
saying.
please
pretty
be advised that
confident.
the slate of officers as proposed by the Board of Fire Commissioners, by letter dated, to the Board of Fire Commissioners, by letter dated March 14, 2016, received by the Fire District March 23, 2016, has been rejected by the Board during a board meeting held on April 8, 2016. The Board was concerned that certain names of officers and trustees are no longer eligible to be members of the Eastchester Fire Department pursuant to New York State Law, Article 11, Section 176B. The Board believes membership in a volunteer company ceases when the volunteer member resides out of the boundaries of the Eastchester Fire District, with the only exception to the town residency requirement being certain members who have been granted permission by the formal resolution of the Board of Fire Commissioners as stated in the Board's minute books. Please review your company records and submit only the names of trustees and officers that are active current volunteer members. We are requesting the Waverly Engine Company provide each member's address, email address, and phone number to allow the fire district to contact these members during emergencies. With kindest regards, Dennis J. Winter and Alderman Chairman. Does anybody want to edit or modify the letter? Are they comfortable with that letter?
Yeah, indicate the vote too, 4-1.
Okay, by a 4-1 vote, it'll be added. And that's that. The next order of business for this morning's discussion was, we've been seeing a lot, and Commissioner Molitano has been forwarding several emails regarding news stories on Narcan.
As well as a national public outbreak of it.
Yeah, and basically, Jerry can explain, but basically, heroin overdoses and a lot of this is stuff, the heroin stuff, I believe, is led by people overusing OxyContin, and that leads to other problems.
Opiates.
Opiates, the opiates, and it's a national problem now, and so Jerry, you can explain.
Yeah, so I mean, I think most of you hear about this in the news. It's most likely people who are on opiates have a 10 times likelihood of being, starting to use heroin. And heroin seems to be the cheap drug to overcome those high needs that are out there. Unfortunately, people can easily overdose on it, and there's basically a national outbreak of people overdosing on heroin. And we want to outfit as many people as we can in the community with Narcan, which is a quick inhalant to overcome overdose and get someone to a hospital care immediately. So that's kind of what we wanted to discuss today.
So the idea would be the board to ask the chief to, if he could expedite the membership being trained on the application or administration of Narcan in case they get, now EVAC I understand already has that, and several police departments have it.
Right, when this first came out, it was primarily law enforcement was supplied and the ambulance corps because they figured police were there. It was a big law enforcement push. There is more push to do it, not a lot of fire departments are doing it because of that, but it's been made easier and easier to acquire. Originally, I believe it was an injection, muscular. Now there's the nasal spray, which makes it a lot easier. A lot of information off of OFPC for there's training materials, there's protocols and guidelines. There's a lot more involved, but my firefighter that's basically oversees the EMS, the CME, is working closely with our medical director. It's actually, from what I'm reading, it's actually easier for upstate non-EMS fire departments. They've actually put something in place where they've made it easier for them to at least carry and do that, even though they're not EMS. We are an EMS fire department, and we operate under the license of a doctor out of Lawrence Hospital, so everything does require his approval, but I think that's coming, it's
Why would he unreasonable?
No,
Why hasn't he approved it?
No, he's not, he's on board with it, but there's a lot that has to be put in place. There's a lot of there's paperwork. If you use it, you have to document everything, so there's a lot to be put in place before. You can't just go, you might be able to go to CVS and buy something to keep in your nightstand for somebody. We can't. We're under certain guidelines, but I think we're very close to just finally having it all buttoned up. Either my firefighter will present what OFPC has provided for training, or maybe we can get some through EVAC.
Is the training
best would
that
be
we
for the
need,
doctor.
my understanding, and I probably am not fully aware of all the details on this, but like, I would imagine part of our EMS training already includes being able to detect when someone is in an overdose condition, right?
Right, but just like anything, there's certain, there's, you gotta look at how you treat somebody. Everything's gotta be in place, and maybe it's more so because we are EMS and we operate under a medical provider's license, so he's, for one thing, gonna protect his license, so I don't think it's that big a deal right now. He may wanna be the one to come and give the presentation, which, in my opinion, would be preferred. But we're right along, you know.
Well, I mean, we gotta get
see
this
it
done, so I
happening.
mean, if you need the
Yeah,
pressure to
it's
put
the
on
lumps
them, I
on
don't
it.
understand, because
No,
there's definitely a dual
it's not a matter of
standard.
putting-
Hang on, there's definitely a dual standard when it comes to public safety and first responders, because on the police end, it's okay for them to view a video
Right, but
and
laws,
understand how it's being, I understand.
there was specific training geared towards them, and just like we're following laws here, there are guidelines and laws that affect how you do this. You just can't go and do it yourself. We are on board. I'm telling you, in the beginning, this was not a fire
I just don't want it
department.
delayed.
I
We
want
can't
to
delay
be
it
on
anymore.
board as well, and that's very important, we should take all the required steps. But is it more important to basically have the stuff and use it if we face an overdose situation, or, you know, deal with the risks of not providing it when we could have
I
had
don't wanna
it
go
because
to
we
jail.
haven't filled
And I
out,
won't
we
be
don't know what the paperwork
It's-
situation is. Like, I'm just a little bit surprised,
It's
because
not
this
that
drug,
you
it
can't
seems like
just do what you want.
in 14 states, you can literally go into CVS and buy it and apply it.
Well, this is
And
a
it's-
fairly
it's-
new, this
and
is a
since-
fairly new.
Since our guys already have EMS training on precisely what's involved with an they can detect that someone is likely overdosing, they know that you can't administer drugs to people below certain ages and weights. To me, I don't know if we have a lot of
All
risk
these
here. Like,
changes
it's
have just been, these have been recent changes that they're pushing to make it more available. These are all new things, so we're gonna fall right into
I
it.
just would
You know,
hate
but
to have a
there's
situation where we show up.
every first responder on the public safety side, as far as police goes, as far as the county, all have it on the most part.
Police
Yeah.
and ambulance.
Yeah.
And that's the way it was set up. I think we're gonna be, from what I see, we're gonna be one of the first fire departments,
Well,
actually.
Well, let's do it,
I
let's
think
be one of the
we're-
first
I mean, I'm
fire
not saying
departments, nothing wrong with
the
that.
first, but it's not become. So
I wanna
that's
put the
where-
pressure on to
we're
be one of
already
the first fire
moving-
departments, let's do
We're
it.
already moving in that direction.
Okay, I don't know if we need to do this by formal resolution, we can
No,
just, like, we can just tell,
You've
authorize.
clearly stated
You
and
need to
desired to have
tell-
it on board.
Do you need to tell the medical director that your board has already approved this formally? So we should just pass a resolution directing the chief
Well,
to-
no,
to,
it's not that, you know, if he's okay with this sign off, I see no reason why he won't. I mean, you were with me the other day speaking to Billy, and it sounds like it's a go. It's just, we're gonna put everything in place, and that'll probably be the next CME, it'll be a presentation on what to do. It's not so much seeing the need and spraying it, it's everything else that's gotta be documented.
Okay, we need to do the same thing on EpiPens too then, at the same time.
That was,
Same deal.
and that was in the same sentence,
Do
pretty
you,
much.
do you see a potential of coordinating a little bit with EVAC on this?
Well, you're always
Because-
gonna, we pretty much try and coordinate everything with the event, we're working hand in hand. We're not a transport, we're not the primary, they are. We're basically there to augment event, you know, we're not
They're all on the same
competition, we're
radio
not-
But then they
channel,
should
too, so
already
they
have
hear
protocols for, you know, the.
It's gonna be the same
purchase,
protocol.
The
the
securing,
protocols are there.
you know, all
Yeah.
that
The
paperwork.
protocols are there, it's a matter of chaining and adopting it, that's what needs to be done. The protocols are there, everybody's been primarily following the same protocols as dictated by, you know, Albany or Rensco, the EMS, regional EMS division, which basically oversees every
All right, well,
EMS agency.
whatever help you need, you're gonna get it from the board to get this through, is my point.
Yeah, no, your desire to have it
Okay.
is clear, that's been made clear, and, you know, it should be in place very soon.
okay,
You know, like also with the coordination, I know you mentioned it come up back, but as far as, you know, actually acquiring it, maintaining it, there are other issues, how do we keep it under fire? You can't just throw it in a glove box, it's gotta be kept in a certain way. So there are some things put in place.
okay. So I'm cognizant of our time, because we have people left at work. Would anybody like to address the board? Mary?
I would just briefly. I think it's very important for the board to review their oath of office before they became fire commissioners. It's very clearly stated that you have to obey and enforce. I think Commissioner Baker could probably repeat the oath by rote. But it's very clear that you have to obey and enforce the laws of New York State, the town laws, and by your resolution regarding the volunteers residing in district, or for the very few people who've been granted an exception, I think that's very appropriate, and candidly, I think it's the only thing that this board could have done. Thank you.
Right. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Yeah, and with that in mind, yeah, we had our new treasurer went and got her oath of office taken, and every board member takes an oath right after they take office, within the first week. So I'll look for a motion to close the meeting.
Before we close, I just want to remind everybody, former Chief Ralph Stuffle Sr. is in the hospital, very, very ill. It's really a shaky thing right now, so just try to keep him in your prayers.
So I'll look for a motion to close the meeting.
Motion to close the meeting?
Jerry, and second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And time is?
10:16. Okay, thank you, everybody. Have a good day.
Thank you.